In this video, I will demonstrate how to hand sew a slip stitch. You'll need thread, a needle and needle threader, straight pins and a pin cushion, a marking pencil, measuring tape, scissors, a 10 by 18 muslin cloth, and an iron. We will start by marking our muslin cloth. The first marking we'll make is to label it wrong side. This will let us know the wrong side of our muslin from the right side of our muslin, and we will continue marking all of our markings on this wrong side. Next, we will mark a 1/2 inch marking along the cut edge of the muslin. To do this, we'll line up the measuring tape at the 1/2 inch mark and mark all the way down the side of the muslin, 1/2 inch. This marking will make our 1/4 inch fold along the edge. After we mark our 1/2 inch mark, we're going to mark a 2.5 inch marking, lining up the 2.5 inch marking along the cut edge of the muslin. We're going to mark along the muslin, and this will be our 1 inch fold after we turn up our 1/4 inch fold. Now that our markings are complete, we're going to fold our edge up to our first 1/2 inch mark, creating a 1/4 inch or 1/4 of an inch fold. We'll finger press it. And then we'll press with an iron. Once that's done, we'll fold our 1/4 inch fold up to our 2.5 inch marking, creating a 1 inch fold. Finger press, and then press with an iron. Now that our fold is in place, we're ready to demonstrate the slip stitch. We'll begin by pinning along the side, the edge of our muslin, just to hold the fold in place. Once we pin, we will begin hand sewing a slip stitch using a single strand of thread, which has a knot at only on one of the strands, and a short strand midway between your needle and the end of the thread. To start, we're going to bring our needle up through the fold, hiding our knot. Just like we did with the whip stitch. And we're going to take up a single thread of the muslin from behind, and we'll enter back through the fold of the cloth where we started. From there, we'll travel through the fold, coming up, and this creates a slip stitch. Again, I'll take a small amount of thread onto my needle from the muslin, a small amount of the cloth from the muslin. I'll return back into the fold just after where I started. And then I'll tunnel through the fold, coming out where I'll make my next slip stitch and pull. This is what it looks like before I pull it tight. You'll see that the stitches disappear once they're pulled tight, and on the back you're left with just a small prick. Of course, I'll remove pins as I go and continue. I've been demonstrating entering, pulling up a small amount of thread in one step, and then entering back through the fold and tunneling through in another. But once you get the hang of the slip stitch, you should do it all in one step. Tunnel through and pull. This is a finishing stitch, so you will use this stitch to finish projects, sewing on appliques, if you want a hidden stitch, of course sewing up pillows, the slip stitch will come in handy for all of those things. Sewing in linings. So I will continue sewing my slip stitch all the way to the end of the row. Taking up a small piece of the muslin, going back through into the fold, tunneling through the fold, coming out again. And that's the slip stitch. I'll come back to show you how to finish it off. I've almost made it to the end of the row, so I want to demonstrate how to finish off sewing your slip stitch. Okay, so once you've made it back through, taking up just a small portion of the fabric for your last stitch, entering back into the fold. Before you pull it all the way through, you want to slip your needle in, tying your knot. Going back through. Slip your needle through again, securing your knot. Now that you have your knot tied, you're going to hide your thread by taking it back through the fold, taking your needle back through the fold, and clipping your thread. Inside the fold. On the wrong side, you should see just small stitches. Of course, I'm using a contrasting thread so you can see some of the stitches. But if you were sewing your slip stitch, you would want a thread that matches your fabric as close as possible. We'll complete these same steps on the other side to finish our slip stitch. Once you finish your slip stitch, you should have a muslin cloth that looks like this. You'll have two edges that have been sewn with the slip stitch. On the wrong side, you'll see pretty invisible stitches if it was done correctly. And on the right side, there'll be small invisible stitches that has a nice clean finish. And that's how to sew a slip stitch.